Hi, I'm the Nature Guy, but this is not Camp Asable. I'm coming to you today from Everglades National Park, the Long Pine Key Campground. They're quite different, the Long Pine Keys, compared to the jack pines that grow around camp. But they are both species that like dry areas, or at least can survive well. Now, their needles are really long. They're probably about almost 10 inches long compared to the rather short needles of the jack pine. And they have much bigger cones than our small little jack pines do. One of the other noticeable differences, they grow much further apart here than the jack pines do back in Michigan. They don't grow as thick of branches. You can kind of see through the treetops. You can see much further through the forest, and it's kind of nice. It makes for some spectacular scenery and sunsets. It's kind of hot in the day, but it'll get cool at night, and it's a nice place to have a campfire. It's one of my favorite pine forests to camp in. Watch out for the scorpions. But longleaf pine and jack pines have some things in common. They can both tolerate extended dry periods, even though they're growing in very poor soil. Jack pines grow in sand at camp, while down here in the Everglades, the longleaf pine grows in exposed limestone. Another similarity is that both of these species of pine are fire tolerant. In fact, in order for these forests to remain and not change into something else, there must be a fire. The fire burns plants that would otherwise take over and kill the trees. In the jack pine forest, white pine and oak will take over if there isn't a fire. In the longleaf pine forests, hardwood species like mahogany and gumbo limbo and species of palm trees would take over if there wasn't fire. So fire is really important to keep these forests going. So here's an area that just burned this past year, but you can already see the green starting to regrow. But you'll notice that all the tropical species died off from the fire. But the pines are still doing fine. Their needles are green way up on the tops of the trees. Here's a good example of the effect of fire. The pine forest had a controlled burn about 4 years ago, whereas on this side, there was no fire for about 15 years. And you can see how thick the tropical forest is beginning to grow up through that longleaf pine forest. It turns out many species of plant depend on the pine forest, like the brown-headed nuthatches and Florida panthers. And so it's important that fires happen occasionally so that these forests will remain. So what's the lesson we can learn? Well, sometimes we get faced with trials in our lives. Hopefully you won't have to live through a forest fire. And just like how the fire ultimately protects this forest in the long term, so too trials can help make us better as humans. God has promised that He will not allow us trials to be so great that we can't handle them with His help. That's really good news. God is in the business of helping us become better. Hey, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.